Well, I'll just start in and start in with our 2-minute check-ins. I see John Scutter. I don't think I've met you yet. Welcome to you. Um, I'll let you know how we do it. We do a couple minutes for check-ins at the beginning and just see how everyone's doing
I lost my head.
with the virus or the Black Lives Matter or just anything that's going on with your station. And then we'll get into bigger topics. If anyone has a topic they want to talk about, let me know. Davine's already mentioned insurance.
Insurance.
That would be a good start. So yeah, Ames, like we were saying, is it's #1 hotspot in the country and therefore the world, I suppose. So that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
We were talking about, I think it has to do, I don't know, a lot with the university, I'm sure. My French teacher, I heard through the grapevine, he said that like Iowa State was on the verge of going bankrupt or something if they didn't get some more money. So I suppose they're probably getting a lot of push for keeping things open. But there was also a big push. They were going to have the first football game, home game, was going to have 20,000 fans, and the athletic department was on the news saying that's what they were going to do. There were doctors on the news pushing back on it, and there was a petition going around, and ultimately the president decided to not do that. So just really glad for that. So that's where we are. And I don't know if you want to add more to that, Ursula. How KHOI is doing?
Well, I mean, I think one thing that can be said is that even though we are now the epicenter of the pandemic on paper, it's, you have to keep it, it's a per capita statistic, and we're not very populated area here. So it's statistically correct, but it's not actually, we're not experiencing like what New York City experienced, because we just don't have that many people here. And there's a lot of space between people. So it's, the statistic is correct.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any news of like
very, very upsetting.
Overcrowded. What? I'm not seeing any news of like hospitals can't take enough, like they don't have enough room or anything, but.
Right. Well, and that's part of the trouble is that the people that are spreading the virus are relatively young, so they're not having
serious
with it, but it's also a lot of information starting to come out now about, lasting effects of the virus. That it's not just about it kills you, but it's about what it does to you in the long run. So there's a lot of question marks, but the trouble is the reason we have such a high statistic is because the students came back to Ames and they make up, at least half of the population of the county. And students have drinking parties. That's what they do. That's what, campus culture is. And so of course they went and had their drinking parties. And so all of a sudden we have community spread. So even though it's really, really scary right now, I think for everybody in town, especially for me, I have a sick sister and a very, very, very old father. But it's not like we don't have we don't have trailers pulling up to hospitals, and because it's not that populated community, so there's a lot of space between people, and so it doesn't feel terrifying like it did in New York.
Yeah, true.
But I have to say it is very frustrating for us though, because people want to come back to the station, and we worry about the station culture because we keep people locked out. But I mean, there's no right now that we could change that. It's just we're in a much worse shape than we were a year ago. So we have to keep the station closed, and it's very, very challenging to keep morale up. I guess we'll find out who really who's faithful to the station. It's like a test. It's with us,
We'll find out.
But the only other thing I want to say is we had this fantastic presentation the other day by, what was his name? Stephanie, I was kind of in and out.
William with Omaha, from Omaha?
Yeah, William. And he was talking about how they've enlisted the health department once a month to come and do presentations. So I did that right away. And I got a really good reception from the health department. So we're going to be doing that.
Right on.
I mean, we've been having them on the air, but now we've made them a regular feature, so that they really, work with us regularly, because clearly they're the only people in the area that spoke up. Anyway, sorry, I'm taking much more than 2 minutes.
That's okay. I was thinking if people want to go a little longer today, we have a smaller group, so.
So Ursula, what do you have them discuss when they come in, and how are they, or when they do the show, and how are you handling it? Are you doing a phone interview, or how's it working?
It's all by Zoom.
By Zoom?
Yeah, we do our morning show with Zoom.
And so you do like a weekly, and then do they come in with their own kind of subjects and content, or do you all?
Well, we hope they will. I mean, we had them on this Thursday where we just asked them about, they're actually, the health board has been very upstanding in what they've been saying about everything. The problem is that our governor will not release the state of emergency, and she's quite frankly, a patsy for the Trump administration. So as long as there's a state of emergency, nobody can do anything because she's in charge. She's the boss. And so the health department has kind of not been able to, do what they want to do, but they have been speaking up. And now they have, they're calling a town hall meeting this week where they are actually proposing an ordinance. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're just going ahead and doing it anyway, a mask ordinance. Because we don't have a mask ordinance in the state of Iowa. And so that's what they came on and talked about today, this morning. But I'm going to be meeting with them, and, I hope that they start to make their own agenda. I mean, I think right now, mostly what we need to ask them about is, how are they dealing with follow-up? They're getting all these cases at the college, and how are they doing contact tracing? How is that really happening? Because that's their job now to, they promised us that if they brought the students back, they would do contact tracing. And so and then wherever it goes, I mean, right now there's a lot to talk about because we are in such bad shape, but I'm hoping that they will kind of get a hang of it, and that there'll be somebody there that will want to take the lead and, not just depend on us interviewing them. But right now, there's more than enough questions that they have to answer. There's going to be questions about hospital beds pretty quickly. I don't know. What's happening to the students that are being quarantined? It's really a big mess.
You want to pass it on to somebody, Ursula?
Yeah, I'll pass it on to John Scutter. Since I don't know you, John, I'd like to meet you.
Hi, John. Welcome.
I think he's muted, so I'll pass.
I noticed he's signing in with like a phone and a sound, so you have to be having
both are muted. So Joseph, you're unmuted, so I'll pass to you. Joseph?
Okay, I am yes. Hello. Today's a smoky day. We have a fire that's over the ridge here, and it's not actually on the reservation yet. They won't, but we get all the smoke. There's a great NPR shortwave program podcast I listened to this morning, and it explained about the science of forest fire smoke, and how sometimes forest fire in California, that smoke will drift to Minnesota. And
Wow.
Explained all about how that happens and how it spreads and how it's creating climate change. And so I downloaded that podcast. I'm going to be posting it on our website and to our environmental section. And right now we have that fire. It kind of blew up a little bit in couple hundred acres, maybe 500 acres, spot fire overnight a couple nights ago, and it just like rained ash in the whole valley. And people woke up in the morning, they had ash on the car. We had ash on the sheep. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it covered everything. So it wasn't like the volcano ash. It was just, what the heck? It's all this ash. But anyway, people were kind of shook up about that. And then got the smoke cover. And right today, I think right now, I can't see outside from here. It's nothing like behind me because that was done on a nice clear day. But it's unhealthy for sensitive people. So I advise everybody to stay in the house and keep your HEPA filters on. Found out that HEPA filters do work for coronavirus. Found out in another report. So
Wow, that's
HEPA
interesting.
filters on. Yeah. So I asked, we do a daily live call-in program. The chairman does a COVID-19 update. So he brings in the incident command team, which is the fire, forestry, the health departments, the administration. So he brings in some guests, and they were talking about that today. So I asked them about, does HEPA filters help with coronavirus? So the couple of the doctors says, they didn't say it was 100%, but they did say it would help in recirculating the air. And then a caller called in after we got that topic going. There's a beauty of live call-ins. Is well, are they going to be supplying all the homes in Hoopa with HEPA filters? Good question. Let's throw that out to tribal chairman. See what he has to say about that. So, because back in '99, when we had the Megrin fire, when this was the epic center of CDC, identified us as the one community to have experienced a smoke level condition that was unhealthy for almost 2 months. You couldn't probably see past that tree behind me. So smoke was so thick. And so they did supply HEPA filters. All the elders and everybody was essential staffs, like the radio station. We have like 3 HEPA filters in the station right now, and we got them running. And then all the staff was sent home with HEPA filters. So make sure that we breathe overnight and come back the next morning. So it's not that bad, but all of us who went through that, wow, when you start smelling smoke, you start feeling it in your throat. And yeah, so when we drink plenty of water, because that's one thing that does help. Clear the lungs also helps with the COVID too. So we make sure that we stay hydrated. So that's about where we're at today. Hopefully tomorrow will be a little bit clearer. So as I usually do, I'll pass it on to Matthew. You're up, Matthew.
All right. Thank you, Joseph.
Sure.
Nice to be back. Well, what we've got going on is our big happy news is we just transitioned our studios to solar power. It's very exciting. That just happened, got turned on Friday. So we're pretty pleased with that. And so the next big project will be next to transmitter, which is a much bigger project. So we had, speaking of the, as you were talking about in Ames, the virus, we had, Maine has done pretty well because so much of it is rural, and we've a governor who's taken it seriously. But there was a wedding about 2 hours north of here. I guess it made the national news, 65 people at a wedding and then at a reception. And now like 140 people are sick from that wedding, a bunch at a nursing home, a bunch at a county jail. And it was in a place that they, people kind of didn't have their guards up at all. And then the minister who did it is one of these gentlemen that God is going to solve the problem. And and that, you know, the government overreach is wrecking the country over this, and it's a fake, and blah blah blah. And so yeah, so there wasn't much care taken, and now it's kind of not kind of, it has taken off. And only a couple people have died, but it's a couple people who have died, you know, and two elder folks. So that's going on. We've been covering that in a, you know, we haven't done any long stories on it, but we've been covering it we have a coronavirus report every other day, and we've been covering that. In the last week, we've had, or 2 weeks, we've had welcomed two new programmers and one returning programmer who does we're on the coast and does a nature a study of, she's a marine biologist and does a thing on the, you know, the nature of the coast, which is very cool for around here. And then we have a new jazz host who's in his 20s, which is very cool around here since we're so rural and there aren't that many young people. And then a new folk DJ in her 30s who her first show was last Saturday was our membership drive. It just happened to fall that way. Nobody else could do it. And she hit it out of the park. She was fabulous. So
Nice.
yeah, that was really, really great. She's someone that started training before the pandemic, and then it all all stopped. But then we got her back in after a while and got things going, and she's off to the races, doing well. And we had to drive, like I said, the last 3 days last week, and we did pretty good. Not as good as last year, but pretty on, you know, just below what they've been doing in August for the last few years. So that's pretty good for, you know, the economic circumstances. We're pretty pleased with that. So that's what's going on here in Maine.
Cool, cool. Do you want to pass it to someone else?
Yeah, how about Alicia?
Hi, Alicia.
Hi. Hi, everyone. So I'm in California, Santa Rosa, the wine country. Not in Napa County, we're in Sonoma County, but yeah, our biggest, of course, industry is the agricultural workers, the grape workers. And so, of course, they're getting a big hit. And for us here in Santa Rosa, our predominantly, our audience is predominantly Spanish speaking, and also we got indigenous languages from Mexico and Central America. So we do broadcasting in English too, but we try to make sure that since our audience is Spanish speaking, we make sure that most of our public fair programs are in Spanish or in indigenous languages. And our concentration is, you know, farm workers. And so, because of course, they're the ones getting hit the hardest. They're considered essential workers. I mean, there were times even when we had the fires, you know, we've had fires constantly, it seems every year, you know, and they're the ones that right now, sometimes the crops there, sometimes they get pulled out of even shelter places to say, go back to work, you know. So our emphasis is always trying to make sure that they have, because some of the growers and winery owners, they neglect to kind of try to make sure that there's you know, the mask that it's like, you know, it's always been a struggle in the agriculture. I mean, I used to work for the United Farm Workers Union for many, you know, for years, and one of the things, and you always have to keep on them, you know, you got to have water, you got to have bathrooms, you got to have, you know, masks in this case, you know, you got to have hand sanitizer.
That's just horrible.
Yeah, and so it's always constant that you have to be there, because it doesn't come like, you know, their concern is, of course, trying to get the crop out, and you know, you have to have the harvest out, you got to do the, you know, and so you got to get it going. And so it's, you know, that we in the community, we're very concerned with the farm workers. So, but we're doing good. I mean, KBBF has always been lucky enough that we've been far away from the fires so that we've not had to, have any problems. In 2017, we came about, I think it was, I know how many yards. We came close to losing our antenna up on Mount St. Helena because the fires were so bad. But we were lucky that we had done a lot of work before and to clear all the stuff that's around there. And so we were able to, another company lost their antenna, but we were so blessed not to have it happen. And this year we're not in danger of going off the air. So it's been very good. We've been able to stay on the air, and we're still doing limited. The programmers come in, limited. We kind of eliminated a lot of the music programs because most of our programmers they've been with KBBF for many years, and they're older and they're afraid to come and, do the social distance and all that. So we've been able to just work with a skeleton, but crew, but we've been doing great. So we're very lucky. So anyway, that's it. Yeah. Oh, was there a question? Oh, I thought. So I'll pass it to the person that was, John, that was, finally came on.
Yes. My name is John Scutter, and I'm being mentored by Lewis Leonard. We're KEUL 88.9 in Girdwood, Alaska.
Hi, John. Nice
And
to meet you.
likewise, I've been around for quite a long time, been to the grassroots conferences and things like that. We have a lot of experience with forest fires, and some of the things that we have done is published air quality reports, and we've actually had the recorded and transmitted the briefings given by the fire crews on a daily basis. Our COVID situation up here is remaining high. What we've done, we've had some similar issues as many of you had. Many of our DJs have chosen not to come in. What we've done is we've incorporated them into AudioPort, and we've added actually 3 new shows. We have Karen Rakos, which is World Music, and she actually has 2 shows, World Music and It's All Folk. And I've started a show, which is Glacier Rock. So that's what we've been doing in the meantime. We've been broadcasting our governor's news conferences and our mayor's conferences daily. So that's pretty much what's been keeping us busy. We're working on some technical projects, Lewis and I. My experience is broadcasting engineering. I went to Ferris State University, originally from Michigan. Got about 40 years associated with the Air Force.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. Been involved a lot with the Air Force Public Affairs program and radio and TV. So, and then got connected with Lewis, it must be 7 years ago, and he's looking for somebody to help him a little more in depth, and I'm willing to do it. So,
Excellent. Oh, cool.
I see.
Oh, were you going to say something else, or was that it?
I guess I'm ready to pass it on to somebody here.
Okay. We have, let's see, Davine. Let's pass it on to Davine.
Hey, so
Hey.
so in the back here is our mini museum of vintage radios up to the internet. And so I thought I'd show it off in the Zoom call this time.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, so we set it up initially to bring in people who are, Asheville is a big tourist town. And so we're right downtown. So it's about an hour to go through. We did a documentary, about a 18-minute documentary of the evolution of the technology from Morse code to having radio on the internet. And so people can, when people come back, they can come in and view the video and then and we've got the radio set up in chronological order so that you start at the beginning of the mini stuff or the early stuff, like what's that little
The federal.
federal
crystal set.
federal crystal set that was what the signal from the Titanic came through to.
Oh, that's cool.
And we're doing well with our show host. We've only lost one, as I've mentioned that before. We've added 3 new show hosts, and I'm training them using Zoom, and then they're recording at home, and then they're sending it in. And then Asheville had well, first of all, Asheville is a very liberal city in a sea of conservatism. So we're surrounded by people who are resentful of the monuments being questioned and considered to be brought down. We have a big monument in the middle of right down smack dab downtown, and the monument is to a former governor who was a slave owner, and rightfully so, people want it to be gone. And it's about a 75-foot tall granite, looks like a phallic symbol kind of thing. Well, they scaffolded it around it and covered it up with black plastic. And the local and regional Confederate believers were very resentful about that. So they were going to have a grand flagging in downtown Asheville with their trucks and their Confederate flags. So 8 of them showed up, so which is not very many, and only 6 flags showed up. So, but I did a live stream of some of it on social media, not on the radio, but on social media, and the interest or the opposition to their presence was huge on our engagement and feedback on Facebook, and it got shared about 100 times, and it's the highest we've ever had of any kind of statistics. So there's a lot of people around here who are not in support, and I didn't get hardly any responses of people supporting the grand flagging group downtown. So that's interesting.
That is interesting. I remember when you were saying like the highest sharings you got were always controversial.
Yeah, and so this one was really controversial. Now, they did have a Klan parade in downtown Asheville about 15 years ago, and that group was highly outnumbered too. My husband, who's sitting right here and listening to the conversation, he went to view it, and he said in the end, he kind of felt sorry for them because there was so much opposition from people who gathered around who were in opposition of them. So,
Wow.
so it's encouraging that engagement and that sharing that happened just from my short coverage of, I call it the 6 flags over Asheville because that's how many flags there were. And it went far and wide, which was very interesting because our name got included. You know, it came from our WPVM Facebook page. So our name was at the top of the graphic and the explanation of what was going on. So our name got shared around, basically around the world, which was good.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think that's it for, is there anyone else that's not been called on?
Yeah, we have Scott joined us. I had talked with him on the phone earlier.
Oh, so, hey, Scott, I'll pass it to
Yeah.
Scott.
We'll go
He's
from
he's
Asheville.
in Tennessee?
Yeah, Asheville to Nashville. Hi, Scott. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey,
you hear me?
glad you could join us.
Yeah,
we're
I was just
going around saying, we're just going around saying how we're doing, and I mentioned that you're interested in getting automation with AudioPort, and we can include that as one of our topics when we get into it. But yeah, just want to hear about you and share how you're doing in Nashville and what's going on.
Okay, I think my feed or something cut out. But I'm just getting this started. It's Nashville Revolution Radio. It's an internet-only station. But I've had internet stations in the past, and I've got one currently that's just music. It's called I Rock Nashville. It's rock music. I originally started it to try to let the world know that Nashville was more than just country music. So we play a lot of local music, local independent bands, but then we also play independent bands from around the world, and then we mix in mainstream music as well. But Nashville Revolution Radio is going to be focused on progressive talk in a field that's full of conservative talk stations. So hopefully we haven't begun broadcasting it yet, but hopefully within the next week or so we'll have some things rolling, and I'll have the website completely up. We've already got a small presence on Facebook, but obviously that will increase once we begin with the broadcasting. I'm trying to map out the programming right now and trying to line up some people to do some original broadcast shows as well. We've had. I actually live in a place called Lebanon, which is just a suburb right outside of Nashville. And on our town square, we have a former slave owner that was a Confederate general, and there's been a lot of talk about that too. So I can definitely relate to what she was talking about in Nashville. And Nashville is a little bit more progressive in itself, but it's surrounded by conservative all around, and there are lots. Nashville is a home of Southern Baptists, of the Methodists as well, and so it's very evangelical and conservative based, but we want to provide an alternative to that. And it will be controversial because you can't have that and not have some controversy. So I'm sure we'll gather a lot of that on.
Well, thank you. Glad you could join us today.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it.
So I think we got to everybody. Why don't we start with Davine has a question about insurance, and then Scott has a question about automation with AudioPort, and then if anyone else has anything after that, we can dive into that too. And if anyone has to leave early, that's fine. You can just write a little note in the chat and we don't really have that big a group. You can just let us know. Today's a smaller group, so. So yeah, Davine, why don't you tell people about your insurance question?
Well, so our insurance has taken a huge increase to about $2,500 now. The basic liability for the station is not that high. It's around $700, and then the rest of that is for DNO, for directors and officers, to protect them from if someone says something on the air that is libelous and they go after, someone chooses to go after the board over something that has been said on the air. And number one, I wonder how many low power stations have been sued for libel. And I'm wondering if we need the amount of insurance that we've got, because so I'm kind of starting to ask around who else has insurance, and do you have a better deal than we do? Because ours went just this past year from around 1,700 to around 2,500. So we think that's very high considering the risks, because, you know, we stress to our show host what you can and cannot say. So I'm not sure that the liability for our directors is that much in jeopardy. So anybody got any pointers out there in Zoom land? I'm going to also put this on the Facebook support groups to see if there's any feedback there too, because I'm not getting a swimmingly enthusiastic response here in this small group.
I'm kind of curious if Ursula would have anything to say on this. I'm not sure where she went. I'm going to call her and see if she's in the building.
This is John from KEUL in Alaska. I'll give you a negative response. We do not carry that kind of insurance. We do have a very strict policy with our DJs.
We do too.
So it's a yes.
We do too. So do your board members kind of insist on you having DNO?
No, it's they don't require. We have a, you know, we keep our policy. We don't air any real, except for like the governor's news conferences and the mayor's news conferences. We don't air live telephone conversations. We're changing that because we're putting in a delay as we speak, broadcast delay. So we'll be able to incorporate that in the near future. Alaskans aren't pro insurance anyhow, in general. So I'm not sure if that helps, but
yeah, it definitely does help.
You know, we have a limited budget, like most, probably everybody on this call, and $2,500 goes an awful long way.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not sure what the gain is from that. We've never had any problems with the FCC or any complaints from people regarding any of our programming. So, and we do you know, mainly the public meetings, and we haven't had any problems with you know, the language or anything like that.
Well, language would go to the show host. That they would need to, if someone complained, the show host would be responsible for that infraction. So that's not necessarily a liability issue that, you know, lawyers would be coming at you. So I we just kind of are beginning to think we're overinsured, basically.
Mhm.
We have DNO insurance for, with so many people coming through here, somebody falls and breaks their leg and wants to sue or anything like that. And I don't have any current board members, but I had a few people years ago. The board insisted on DNO insurance so that they were personally protected if something went wrong. That's been the culture here to do that. So I can't tell you off the top of my head what it costs though.
Well, if someone came in and tripped on a rug or something, the liability for the station would cover that, not necessarily the DNO. So
Right. I mean, I've heard a few lawyers say that anyone can be sued for anything at any time.
right.
And, that's a second. We've got a liability policy, and then a secondary level is the DNO insurance.
Yeah, that's what we have.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think our board would go without it. So.
And in our case, we at first some board members didn't want hadn't mentioned it, but as we're trying to our board is pretty poor. In other words, they and so our members, and so there wasn't a concern for having it, and we are now in the process of getting it because we're trying to recruit people that have big connections, have big bucks, but they believe in public radio and all that. So we feel like they're the ones that for sure, because I talked to someone who said to me that was the first question they asked. Mm-hmm. If I join your board, do you have DNO insurance? And I'm like, no, we don't. So he goes, I'm sorry, I can't. I'll support it, in other ways, but but not be part of that board. And so that made us start to think that yes, well, if we really want to recruit it, we should try to look for it to get it. And it didn't seem so expensive when we did the research. I can't think of the numbers right now, but I was surprised that I didn't think it was that expensive for us. So I don't know why, but we're going to pursue it to make sure.
So can you share some information on the chat or something, or send an email letter later, or to either Ursula or to Stephanie, so we can just follow up and get a quote from them, if nothing else.
Yeah. Yes. If we find, if I can, I have to go back to the director that was doing the research, and yeah. So, and then I will, for sure, I will let you know.
Thank you.
Sure, yeah. I noticed that Scott has a blue hand up on his thing. I've never seen that before. Is that like raising your hand?
Yeah, that's one of the options here.
Oh,
I had a question. If the host of the show happens to also be one of the directors or the officers, would you need a separate policy, or would that policy?
It's my understanding that it is a violation of what happens on a program that is broadcast goes to the owner of that license,
yeah,
not the announcers, not the DJs. So all fines go to the top. And our situation here is we're owned by the Hoopa Valley Tribe, so we're an entity. So we have this coverage, blanket coverage as far as DNO insurance. So I have no idea how much our insurance company or office pays for our coverage, but we're fully protected. But it's always been my understanding that FCC always finds the corporation, the corporate board, or the board of directors, not station. Now, the board of directors could always fire the manager, and the manager could always fire the staff or penalize or anything like that. But fines always go to the top. That's my
That's
understanding.
correct, and I agree with that, that fines go to the top. But in order to really stress to people that you have to watch your language, we tell them that we're coming after them to help pay for that fine. So we're not going to cover you. You're going to have to pay some of it. And we scare them with that.
Well, that works.
You know, one thing when I first came on, I came on about 10 years ago, and one of the things I said to, and of course at first people got insulted when I said this. I said, everyone here is all the programmers, all the DJs, all the volunteers, and everyone. All of you are, the way I said it, and I said they're all, you're all children under 18. You're all children under, the board of directors are the parents here. So whatever action you, and of course people were, before I even saying anything, they were all up in, I said, stop. Let me explain what I'm trying to make it simple so you understand. And that is that anything you say, you know, on the air, we're gonna end up having to pay for it. We're the board of directors is the parents of this. We're responsible. We have the liability and whatever. And what will happen, I said, is that it doesn't mean that I'm talking about immaturity or anything. I'm talking about legal, the way the legal system is viewing your responsibilities compared to the board of directors, I said. And so what I'm asking is all of you to, you know, of course, I put it at that time in a nice motherly way, that I hope that you will behave and you will do this, all of the things, so that you help us out. And we don't want to go under more than what we already are. And the thing was that for us, it has helped. I mean, in the sense that people have been very good about, you know, behaving, and we haven't had any problems in that sense. But for me, I still feel that, yeah, we are responsible. Like I used to say to them, the most that you'll lose is you know, we'll fire you for being a volunteer here. That's it, you know, and it's not like you're going, you know, any more than that. But you know, I hadn't thought about threatening them that we would go after them. But they're probably in worse situation than we are, so we couldn't get anything from them. But no, we've been very, very lucky in that, you know, our programmers have really, I think it's because so many of them been with KBBF for so many years, you know. You know, you're talking about 20 to 30 years, 10 years, you know, minimum. You know, I think, you know, minimum, I mean, we have people, you know, minimum is 5 years they've been with KBBF. So to them, it's viewed as a family, and it's viewed as you know, there's a lot of love. And so they don't want to jeopardize anything, you know, that they want to make sure that, we, you know, we keep stay above ground here. And we're doing really good right now. I feel like we're a very tight family and trying to take care of each other. So, yeah, in some ways, you know, it is like sometimes you do question whether you got too much insurance, you know, if always living in fear that someone's going to come, you know, and do something, and, you know, just do it for the sake of suing, you know.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that you have a tight group that feels like family, because we've had this station, we're a little over 5 years, and that's what I perceive amongst the people who have come in, is they really it feels more familial than any other situation I've ever been in, and everybody has a sense of responsibility to the community, and which is what Alicia seems to say comes from her group too. So maybe it's a natural progression as people become more and more bonded to the station in general.
And I think there's some people, new people who come in who kind of are in awe of the opportunity they have,
Mhm.
and get through the training. What are, I mean, it's a privilege, responsibility,
Right.
that we, and then there's people who've just come in and don't get it, and people who've been here a long time who don't get it. But I think you're right. The people who have been around a long time really get it and really value the station so much that they wouldn't want to jeopardize,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
Yes, when I came in about 10 years ago. Now I've been with KBBF as I don't call it as a volunteer. I say that I work full time for KBBF with no pay. For now, November 7th, I'll have 10 years with KBBF. And so I always say that I don't even know my anniversary or the birth of my children anymore, but I darn know when I joined this group. And when we joined 10 years ago, I told the group it was during a very critical time, and we didn't know if we were going to make it. And I told them all that they were going to they were taking a risk to being on the board. Because if we failed, nobody was going to blame anything of what happened in the past. They were going to blame us for the failure and for the death of KBBF. I said, so we have to try, I'm asking a commitment from all of you. I'm about to embark on this commitment and in a sense, put my family secondary. My husband, no longer insists, but he used to. The first 5 years, he insisted that I love KBBF more than I loved him. So now he's gotten over it, that he's realized that, after 27 years with him, he realized, that it's, I do care for him. But anyway, but the point is, in our family, in our group, we really pulled together. I also said, and I'm gonna put it here, I also told the board that I was going to ask them to a big commitment to stay with the struggle till we finish and see how we can do it. But the other thing I told them is that if I discover that you're here for a self-interest, I guess I can say this. I told them in English and Spanish, but I'm not going to say it in Spanish because it's a little more harsh. But I said to them, I am going to kick your ass, and that's it. If I ever discover that you're here and the only reason you should be here and serving this board is to serve the community, serve people that have less than we're here as a service. And so now KBBF was born in 1973. We went on the air as being the first bilingual public radio station. And, even though there's others that have a lot more stations and are much more profitable than we are, I always say that's okay because children do better than sometimes the parents do. So I say it's okay. We're the parents, and I'm really happy for the rest of everybody public radio that's doing much better than us, because that's just like those are the grandchildren of KBBF, and we're really happy for everyone. But no, for us we've been this 10 years have been incredible. We really have fulfilled I guess the dream, the vision of the founders. So I am very proud of KBBF, and and so and it was born here in in Santa Rosa, California. Who would have thought, And so anyway, I'm always very, very proud of the radio station.
Hear, hear. Does anyone else have anything they want to add for insurance questions? Whoops. Okay, so, and Alicia, if you come across stuff that you can send it to me to send to Davine. Okay, we'll remember that. Whoops, sorry. There, now I'm here. Let's move on to Scott's issue. I was talking with Scott today on the phone, And he was saying that he was asking if it was possible to have more programming on the KU channel for AudioPort, because it was kind of a pain to keep uploading things manually. And I was saying that I know that it's possible to have automation connect with AudioPort, but that's about as far as my knowledge goes. So I was hoping we could connect him somehow with somebody or some knowledge, or what direction to go and how to get that started.
Well, Scott, what are you looking for exactly? You're looking for a stream?
Well, that would probably be, in my understanding, it would be easier for me to pull from that. Like, I don't know, which I mentioned this to her on the phone call, but I don't know if you're familiar with FSN News, Feature Story News, but we pull from them to get our news for like on the rock station. Like I said, it's been going for a while. We do a top of the hour and a bottom of the hour news, and we get it from FSN. And all I do, I program it in to pull from their stream at a certain time every day on every hour. And so it just pulls from their stream. I don't have to download anything. I don't have to upload anything. It just automatically pulls from it. Whereas if I haven't, like say, right now, I'm the only one that's going to be doing anything until I get all the other programming, the local programming situated. And I'm still trying, I'm working on getting hosts and everything. But like, especially in the morning hours, because of the fact that where I live is a very rural area, I don't have internet where I live. And so like in the early hours, before I can have time to get somewhere to get to the office or wherever to get internet, if we had a daily show in the morning, like say from 5 o'clock till like 9 o'clock in the mornings, I wouldn't be able to download it and then upload it back up in order to have it. And so I was just trying to find a way to get like a stream or something to where I could just program it to just switch over to that stream at a certain time, and then it would switch over to that, and then rebroadcasting, from that stream, if that makes any sense. Because right now I don't know how to automatically download something and then re-upload it into our system.
So you're going to have to, when you do have internet, if you have a place where you can load it up onto the computer that you're using, you can, all of the programs, and I'm assuming you're wanting to capture programs from AudioPort, those all can be downloaded on an RSS feed using a free fetcher, RSS feed fetcher, and then you can store those in your files or folders and capture them to play if you're doing it manually, or in our case, we have automation that automatically plays those audio files that get downloaded from AudioPort. I don't have to, once I program in that RSS feed and put it and get the path right in all the folders, everything happens automatically. So does that help?
It does. I just I gotta figure out how to work that with the automation that we're doing.
Yeah.
Now we can pull from I don't know. I'm sorry.
What automation system are you using?
Well, right now what I'm using is cloud-based. I'm not using a hard like a localized automation. I'm using a cloud-based automation. I don't know if you ever heard of this. It's called Radio Boss, but that's what we're using. And I know that it can pull, you know, I can schedule it to pull from feeds. I just don't know that I can schedule it to pull from a RSS. It pulls from a URL feed, you know, like the KU.
Well, so the RSS is a URL. So it comes directly from Pacifica. It's just a way that it's coded, I believe. I may be wrong about that, but it comes in like a URL because the URL has audioport.org RSS. Then it gives the name of the show, and the file which is usually an MP3.
Yeah, it's just your basic podcasting technology. It's nothing special.
Right.
It's just a podcast, basically.
Okay. Well, I should be able to do that then.
What kind of automation do you use, Daveen?
We have Station Playlist, which is a paid one, but I think it's Rivendell. There's free ones, but we have Station Playlist.
Mm-hmm. Well, Scott, it's
Station Playlist, but I don't have a way of using it right now because I need it to be cloud based. But Radio Boss is good, but yeah, I just need to figure out how to get it to do what you were saying to do.
So Scott, are you saying you need to talk to somebody who can kind of talk you through how that works?
That would be helpful, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me see if, I don't know how well versed Otis and John are on the many different types of automation system, but I can ask them if they know, and if they don't, maybe it sounds like Daveen might be a good person to help you.
Well, you know, check the YouTube, check the Magic YouTube for that particular software and see if they've got some tutorials.
Okay. Yeah, the biggest thing, I didn't realize that the RSS would work like a feed. I didn't realize that it would work like an audio feed like FSN is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
And we get FSN too, and I think that probably comes in as an RSS feed, but I'm not sure. It's called Real Simple. RSS means Real Simple Syndication.
Is that what it means? So Scott, if you kind of hit a wall, will you send me an email and tell me that you're hitting a wall, and we can, you know, try and move you along?
Definitely, yes.
Okay.
Because I appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't want you to get, you know, stymied by that. I think
if I had more people, or if I lived where I had internet, it wouldn't be a pain.
Yeah.
But where I live,
but you should. I mean, yeah, you should be able to automate that just to make your life easier too. I mean, you know, having a live stream is a goal that people always talk about at Pacifica, but they haven't really been able to marshal the resources yet. We have the streams. It's just a matter of programming them. But even if they did that, they may or may not play things that you want at a particular time, you know? And I think if you kind of harness the RSS feed, I think it's going to be more what you want, because then you can make your own choices.
There's some great programming. So about 2 months ago, we were talking about programming, and someone mentioned Back Down the Bayou. So I just want to say I captured that from Pacifica, and it is indeed a great show. So thank you for whoever, I think Ursula and some other person recommended it. It's great.
Wasn't me. What's it called? Down by the Bayou?
Back Down the Bayou.
Back down. No, it wasn't me.
Coming from WHYR in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, they're a real fountain of.
They have great musical shows. Yeah, so check out Scott. Check out WHYR's programming. They have some great music shows, but there are other great music shows too.
Yeah, you know, Stephanie has been working her tail off for days now to update the directory that's at pacificanetwork.org. And how many music shows do you have now in the directory?
I think we have at least 60.
Yeah.
I
So
will in the music part.
right now the directory is not linked to AudioPort. We need to put a link to it. But if you go to pacificanetwork.org and go to, I don't know, let me take a look here.
Yeah, I think Scott was saying he was looking on that too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
great.
yeah, and it's very helpful.
One
Yeah,
of the
and
things I found when I was looking that I'm a big fan of now is called Cat Beast Party.
Cat Beast Party.
yeah, we air that. That's very that's
It's
a
an
very popular
eclectic.
show.
It's great. I love it.
You guys play that, don't you, Matthew? I think she hears you call your name.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
It's
it?
a popular show. Although one time I gotta say, she and her friends got on there drunk and they really made me mad. It was like
Oh,
something, and I was like, really, girls, like going on the air drunk. But
that might be actually out of Nashville too. Now that I think about it, are they?
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
So for those of you that didn't find it, if you go to what?
It's probably Radio Free Nashville. They are a low power station in
Yeah.
Nashville, and they're
Yeah.
most. Yeah, they have a little bit of
maybe.
talk, but most.
So if any of you besides Scott don't know where that directory is, it's pacificanetwork.org, and you go to programs, and then under audio port, there's a thing that says programs and audio port. And we're trying to get it up to speed so that it's a really, really, almost complete directory. We get an average of 3 new shows a week, so it's challenging to keep up with it. The website just expands at an incredible rate. And most of the stuff is good. Most of it is not all of it.
So Ursula, is it in that group of, when you go to the main page, you scroll down to a folder that says programming, or is it somewhere else?
Are you talking about pacificanetwork.org?
On the audio port of Pacifica. I'm talking about audio port, not.
Okay, ask me again. What did you ask me?
So where this is located, if I go to audio port, it's not going to be there. It's going to be on Pacifica.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, although we need to put a link to it on audio ports so people don't have to do that. But right now, if you go to pacificanetwork.org and go to programs, it's under programs. But
Okay, thank you.
you really need to put a link to to AudioPort. Because it's, especially for new people, they look at AudioPort and they're just kind of like, what am I looking at? It doesn't present itself in a way, especially newcomers to the site, that they feel they get a grasp of it.
Yeah, but there's some real gems in audio ports.
Oh,
Seriously
yeah.
good stuff. So
Yeah, no, there's some very, very good productions in there, I have to say.
And we're working to make the audio port menu on the Pacifica page things that are all current. So it's, current.
Yeah, and so this year we're going to do something new. We're going to try and be classy like PRX. We're going to start a Donna DiBianco fund for a scholarship for a new producer at least once a year. So I'm excited about setting that up so that, we can start to, at least have one grant a year and hopefully more with time in Donna's name to really encourage new productions and, kind of reward young producers for stepping into community radio. So I've been wanting for a long time for AudioPort to have that. And I'm really excited about starting that. And, Donna passing away was perfect reason to do that.
Good deal. Well, let's see. Anything else anyone want to talk about today?
I've got to run.
Okay.
But it's great to see everyone. Thank you for the conversation.
It's good to see you too, Matt.
Yep. See you another time.
You bet. Take care.
Yep. Good luck with the ash, Joseph. Yeah.
Bye-bye, Matt,
Bye-bye.
and wish us luck with our health, so we don't all die here in Iowa.
Yeah, geez, yeah. And
The Republicans are going to kill us.
yeah, I know. All the best. Yeah, wow.
Thank you.
Take
We're very
care.
pathetic. We're so pathetic right now.
No, you're not. You're great.
Thank you. You are too.
Well, on that note too, I just want to mention that since we're kind of slowing down on having official talks, I thought Ursula and I were thinking we could keep the standing meeting once a week. And maybe sometimes we would have like, well, I mean, no, I know sometimes we will have an official presentation, and then sometimes other times we'll just have a meeting like today where get together and then kind of brainstorm for topics and what we were going to focus on for the day. And we'll just keep it going that way and see if that works. You know, because people come and go and depending on their schedules. So anyway, yeah, just thought I'd give you guys a heads up about that. I have someone else who wants to give a presentation, so I know that will be coming up too. But anyway.
One thing I would like to do, and I don't know if this is the place for it or not. You know, there's a lot of independent production groups that are part of the network, and they have a lot of, you know, issues to talk about, and it's really time to give them a space to talk. And I don't know, I'm kind of curious, do you feel that this should be part of this meeting, or should I set up a separate meeting for the independent producers? You guys have a sense?
That's a good question. Like, what do you think they'll want to talk about? I mean, if it's something that interests other stations, I mean.
Well, I mean, one of the things that they always call me about is, I mean, they have absolutely no ability to raise money at all. They're the most kind of forlorn groups of everybody. At least stations can raise money in their own name. Independent production groups really can't go on the air and raise money for themselves. And so they're constantly trying to figure out how to pay for, you know, their groups. And because there is really absolutely no business plan for independent community production groups. And so, you know, they want to talk to each other about how they make do. They always ask me, you know, can we put underwriting on our shows? Will that upset the stations? And, you know, I tell them that legally they can do it, but people don't always appreciate it because you're using their airtime to raise money for yourself. But some stations accept it because they understand the need. So, you know, there's questions like that, like what's the etiquette around promoting yourself? I mean, Democracy Now! Kind of takes it to the limit. They shamelessly use your airtime to drive people to their own website. That's how they survive, you know. So that's one of the issues that independent production groups are always trying to figure out.
So who would be the other,
I think
who would be
Pardon me?
some of the other groups like Democracy Now! So we could get kind of an idea of what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, we have more than 100 independent production groups in the network. We, you know, groups like
Outcasting?
Outcasting, National Radio Project does Making Contact. Between the Lines has been doing their show since 1980s. This Way Out. You know, there's let me see, I'm trying to think of other groups that you, Counterspin. I mean, I'm kind of telling you the most long-standing ones because they come easiest to mind. But I would say, you know, at least a third of the shows you see on AudioPort these days are from independent groups that have, you know, started at a community radio station and then spun off into their own thing.
I see.
Larry Kay,
Well,
Indigenous. It's a fantastic show. And he really, really pushes the underwriting much harder than most people, but we accept it because I love his show. He
You were
has,
talking about the underwriting part. I know on NPR they don't mind putting that on there. I mean, they, you know, say this is provided by this grant, or this
right.
organization. I mean, hey, I don't see that it would be an issue, but you know, I think it would be good to let people know, hey, these are helping us with this.
I think, you know, I think they would love to talk to some station managers because they're always trying to figure out, you know, how to handle what they're doing so that it fits into what stations need and want. I mean, there was a time when if a station, when if a show had an underwriter, stations wouldn't take the show. But, you know, I think people have become more tolerant.
Well, that might be a good place to start if we want to have a meeting with station managers and independent producers. And then if independent producers want to keep going and have their own group so they can have people to, you know, feedback from.
Would that be okay with those of you who are on the call? I mean, you're a small cross section, but okay.
Sure.
Joseph, what does your post mean? When you say you haven't started yours, what does that mean?
Means I'm still working here and I haven't
Oh.
started as my independent production.
Oh,
yet
you're
when I
starting.
leave.
Oh, well, I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Well, I have more time, you know?
Yeah. No, it's a tremendously positive thing, you know, that, and I have to say to AudioPort's credit that it's partly due. I mean, it's not only because of AudioPort, but AudioPort certainly nurtured that culture because there was an easy way to distribute. But I think it's only a great sign, you know, that people are inspired to do this. I don't know how some of them do it. They don't have any money, you know.
So I think I kind of think it's kind of more of a mission.
What?
It's more of a mission. It's community
Yeah.
stations and doing programming. It's over and above having to do with money. It becomes a mission of some sort.
It is, yeah.
It is for us.
Yeah, it is. But it's amazing that the high quality that the standard that people hold themselves, they don't just treat it like a hobby. It's a, you know, another good example is Talk Nation and the Writer's Voice. I know that Francesca, she's always like coming to me and saying, how can I make money with this? Oh. But I mean, it's a great show. It's a really, really good show.
Yes.
You know, and these people, they all came from community radio, and a lot of people go from community radio into public radio where they're paid a lot, and then other people stay, you know, with community radio and do the really, really good work here because they believe, you know, on principle. So I have a lot of respect for them.
Well, it's okay with me.
All right, good deal.
Okay, cool. So maybe we'll do that sometime. I mean, there's a lot of them, so we'll see. But that's a good idea. I think some of them would have some I mean, they're much hungrier, you know, because they're really, they're on the line. So they tend to be very, very focused people because it's hard. Okay,
Okay,
cool.
cool. Well, we could leave it there. There's not anything else, or is there anything else that anyone had on their mind?
It's good to see you guys.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. As
glad
always.
you could make it today. Glad we
Yeah.
saw some new faces, John and Scott. Glad you could join us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
we'll just keep it going. And
John, I needed to ask you a question real quick. Did you also want to be put on the listserv for program announcements?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. So Stephanie, you'll do the station manager and I'll do the program announcements, okay?
Okay. Have you sent me John's?
He put it in the chat. If you look in the chat.
I sent it to you, Ursula.
Oh, Stephanie's not, well, Stephanie's me too. Anyway, I'll send it
Okay.
to you, Stephanie. I'll send it to you, Stephanie.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
I was gonna update you too, Ursula, on a couple of things. When
You
we're
want to
done.
do it here or I mean,
Yeah, that works for me. I mean, you guys can hang out too if you want.
bye-bye, Vivian.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
I'm gonna sign off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.